Welcome back everyone to another video where I break things and you sit back in absolute horror as the priceless urn of the family pet shatters into pieces on the living room rug. Speaking of dead animals, Sonic the Hedgehog. Or more specifically, his more recent adventures in Sonic Mania. This game's got a huge modding community, and really Sonic in general has a very active hacking scene as well. In fact, Sonic Mania was actually made by a few members of the hacking scene, so it's pretty fitting that modders get the chance to make abominations. Today we'll be looking at some of these mods for better or for worse. Did you know Sonic can run pretty fast? But what if Sonic could walk pretty fast? Or if you're feeling a little retro and a lot obscure, how about changing Sonic's animations to make them a bit more Sega Sonic the Hedgehog inspired? Now you and the boys can run face first into danger, or the nearest bed of spikes. But if running isn't enough for you, let's bring it back to the simple things. Dab on them. Enough messing around though, I guess I should explain a little bit more about these. So basically these mods just replace the basic animation of the game, and these changes can range from small touches like Sega Sonic running cycle from earlier, or things like this. Yeah, this one's probably my favorite of this little category. Almost every Sonic sprite was painstakingly edited to have this goofy face from the title animation. Whether it's up next to Tails on a save select, or even when he's curled up in a ball, this derpy looking Sonic face makes it look like Sonic really does not like what he's looking at. I wonder, what did he see in those eyes of his? But you know what, I'm tired of Sonic always getting the spotlight. Let's try out some Tails mods. It's just a reskin on Sonic, isn't it? This odd little mod swaps Tails and Sonic's sprite, which seems like it has some very unintended effects. Tails has no tails, and Sonic has Tails, so would that make Sonic Tails? Another weird thing about this identity swap is that Tails can hang on to Sonic while he's flying, although Sonic kinda just disappears when he does that, so it kinda looks like Tails is just kinda... I'm not even sure what he's doing. If any of you have any idea, please tell me, because I've really got nothing. And speaking of really, here's a really bad transition to this look at a realistic Knuckles mod. I know what you're thinking. We don't expect realism from Sonic. And you're right, because this is all the realism you ever need. Dash down slopes with your stubby legs, extend your feet and shoot to the stars above. Solve puzzles because 4 heads are better than 1. Except don't glide, a lot of these mods are kind of a work in progress. Enough of kidding around. If we're looking for something cooler, let's not just stop there and become a completely different character. And man, there are a ton of custom characters to choose from. Video game characters like Mario, Shantae, Ness, and even Pac-Man. Or even Big the Cat. Or some really cool ones like Classic Shadow that do a fantastic job at capturing all that edginess. He's obviously a skin over Sonic, but there's a few animations and some edited ones that just look super silly on Shadow. Look, they even got Shadow's air shoe sparking when he runs, and his victory pose is completely overhauled too. Super Shadow is here too, but it doesn't seem to work in Egg Reverie, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But we can take a little look at a bigger character, and when I say big, I mean big. It's just as comical as you'd imagine. Big is large, from its sprite to its hitboxes, he's just completely massive. But don't worry, the level makes accommodations for this absolute lad, so there's nowhere this cat can't go in order to find his frog. Don't forget about his signature umbrella, which he can use to glide and break walls too? Yeah, I think that's how that works. Don't forget about that glorious victory pose. Look at him. Look at him go. We don't have to stick to Sonic characters either. If you need some non-hog, look no further than Kirby Mania. This mod is just absolutely pure, it's perfect. Nothing's better than watching Kirby stroll through Green's hill zone. He's certainly faster than he usually is, and he's got access to his wheel ability whenever, and you can also take Wildy along, and it's kind of adorable. Not all of Kirby's animations translate over the best, but the ones that do are just perfect. Unfortunately, Kirby can't float, but this Cake Dream animation makes it worth it. Waldy's also playable, and he has a very nice crouch animation. He sit. It's Sans Mania time, and it's gonna be a good one. It's Sans, exactly how you remember him. Spinning, rolling, and Naruto running through what is clearly supposed to be Hotland in order to find that kid who killed his brother. I just really enjoy the fact that he keeps his hands inside his pockets whenever he walks. It's attention to detail that really makes this perfect. Sans is the most bizarre character used for a character skin, and that's exactly why it had to be done. But don't forget about Super Sans, definitely my favorite part of Undertale. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though, game characters aren't the only thing that we mod in. Even anime characters get on the chopping block. Okay, I'll cut it out with the jokes, but look, I love Madoka Magica, and seeing as a mod in one of my favorite games is actually pretty awesome. Madoka can fight for a good future, or bad future in this case, all while being the fastest magical girl to ever live. Of course, if we're talking anime, we have to talk about the most popular anime of all time, Goku Mania Z. I don't know what you were thinking about. Now let me tell you, this is a really good one. First off, you can place my favorite pairing in all of anime, Goku and Tails. Powerful. And yes, playing as Goku's is as great as you'd expect, and you can even go Super Saiyan Blue. Goku's animation translate over pretty rough, but hey, I can do this weird horse dance thing, so I guess it's worth it. And I can't not do the final boss with Goku. This is definitely the cherry on top of this mod. The character replacement don't stop at sprites either. Sonic Mania special stages use 3D models, so why not change it to something a bit more super? Yup, someone went and made a Sonic Mania version of the Super Mario 64 model, and I'd say it really makes you feel like Mario. Well, besides that jump not looking like the way Mario normally jumps, I'd say this is a really cool mod. Kinda surprised that the rings weren't changed to coins and the blue spears weren't changed to mushrooms or something. Missed opportunity, but still pretty cool regardless. Now while we've been looking at character swaps and skins, we haven't even touched boss skins. and they're quite the step up from just regular player variations. There may not be too many of them, but I still did want to show them off because I think they're pretty cool. So this first boss mod is over the Metal Sonic boss fight, and what else is more fitting than Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 Knuckles? I love that the boss fight starts off with Mecha Sonic on the Master Emerald, and then the second phase of the boss has that hole reshape so it can actually fit Mecha Sonic. The music's even changed to Doomsday Zone, which is pretty fitting for the final phase Mecha Sonic Kai? That's a big boy. Another skin over the Metal Sonic boss fight is Gimro from Sonic Advance 3, which makes me glad that people still remember that game. It's still your run-of-the-mill Metal Sonic boss, but the final phase has Metal Sonic Kai replaced with Ultimate Gimro, which is a pretty nice touch. But there's absolutely zero boss skins that can top this one. Or at least in this case, it's absolutely Dark Matter. With this mod, most of the bosses have been replaced with some form of Dark Matter or Zero. You've got Miracle Matter over Metal Sonic, this mess over the second phase, Dark Matter Worm, Miracle Matter again over the final boss, and yet another mess of Zero 2 in the various Dark Matter incarnations. At this stage, it's not too pretty. Well, speaking of stages, there's also another popular type of modding for this game, and that's, well, stages. There's a bevy of stage mods created for this game, ranging from simple level ports to even entirely custom levels. Or even a straight line. Also, because there's so many stages to choose from, I'm only going to pick just a few of my favorites, otherwise this video would end up way too incredibly long. Well, that's enough introduction, let's just take a look at the first stage that isn't just a straight line, Jungle Zone. Well, I wasn't lying, this one's multiple straight lines. Sorry. Yep, this is the uncreatively named level Jungle Zone from the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog, now recreated in Mania. Now while this is in Mania, the level design is from a much older game, meaning it's kinda terrible. No offense to the creator, because this level has a ton of attention to detail, but I wish that attention could be spent elsewhere. Bottomless pits and platforms that may or may not be there, and that you may or may not be able to jump onto may or may not be a little infuriating, but it made for a surprisingly fun challenge. And now, straight out of Sonic CD, we've got Title Tempest, and it looks just as good as it did before. Just as wet too. Some things were obviously changed around, and a few things were added, like special rings in the wall here, but for all intents and purposes, it's a Title Tempest port. But what I really liked is that the boss areas actually fought in the good future version of the original level, which is pretty neat. But Labyrinth Zone's pretty neat, right guys? It's not. Actually, this mod makes Labyrinth Zone join the ranks of actually good water levels. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of water levels on this, but look, what can I say, I love Hydro City, alright? So this stage mod takes Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1 and pretty much makes a Mania-ized version of it, and it's actually pretty fun to play. It's a pretty meaty level too, and features some special rings as well, and uses the gimmicks from Hydro City to its advantage. As far as the original level design from stage mod goes, I'd say it's one of the best. But let's bring it back above ground to Angel Island Zone Extended, which is a mod that takes the rather short remake of Sonic 3's first level from Encore mode and stretches it out and includes some of the second act as well. If you played the original, you'll know where everything is. Most of the secrets are where you remember them, but other than that, that's all that's here. Another stage I'm a fan of is Egg Locomotive Zone, or Egg Loco for short, because it's crazy how cool this little stage is. There may not be much to this act, like it's really short, but it's so much better than the whole Sky Chase from Mirage Soon Act 1. Unfortunately, there's no custom boss, but this stage mod shows a lot of progress. Now this one isn't your average stage mod, you can say this one's a bit more advanced. 2. This overhaul of a mod aims to give the Sonic Advance 2 experience through Sonic Mania, adding in a few stages from the original, plus bringing in the graphics and music for the authentic experience. Obviously, it's not perfect. Sonic's physics are like Mania's non-advances, things like grinding on rails isn't anywhere close to what it'd be like, and Mania's bosses are still there, although some of these are limitations of mods right now, so it's not all that bad. Nevertheless, it's an extremely ambitious project that I'd love to see even go further than it is now. But look y'all, I know what you came here for. Memes. And no good modding community exists without our brave soldiers. No, leaders, storming the hailfire and paving the way for others to be able to create great mods too. Bless our troops. It's time to up the ante with some meme mods, so let's start things off with our Lord and Savior, Big Yoshi. As you can see, we're off to a great start. Big Yoshi steals a Phantom Ruby and Curb tries to take it back, but thankfully Super Sonic's here to break up the fight, and these weird looking Metal Sonic dudes are cheering us on in the background. It's your pretty standard egg every boss fight, and after it ends, the Phantom Ruby spawns quite a frightened looking portal. Hey, I'd be scared to go to Sonic Forces after this too. I don't think any other meme mod can top this straight line zone. It's a zone that goes in a straight line. Granted, it's not infinite, within about a minute you can reach the goal. But it's also got 2 acts, and the second one doesn't end either, so I'd say this is the most content in any mod I've ever seen. We can't forget about the best boss in all the classic games, Roblox Guy. Honestly, have no idea what this animation's supposed to be. Not much has changed, but don't forget this is Mania Plus, so the third phase is Super Roblox Guy? Why was this mod created? Now this is it, the actual meme mod to end all meme mods. Fidget spinner rings, no. Imagine anything and everything that you can think of, and put in one sprite, and you've got this monstrosity of a creation. This mod's the equivalent of taking entirely out of spritesresource.com, putting it into a blender, lighting the blender on fire, then just throwing away the blender because look what you created. Also, the music's the second opening of Kill la Kill, so okay. How do I end this video? Well, that's all the time I have for it. Gotta get back to another 4-month hiatus. Nah, but seriously, if you enjoyed the video, a like would be nice, and also, thanks to my channel sponsors like me. So, Well, if you want to support the channel for $5 a month, the option's right next to the subscribe button down below. So I'll see you here next week, so don't forget to stay golden.